Hi everyone, this is a quick demo on the use of the quadratic formula. So let's just begin by reminding ourselves of a quadratic equation. Here is a quadratic equation. Usually we write a times x squared plus b times x plus c, and if in standard form we would make this equal to 0. The important parts of this formula are the numbers a, b and c. Now, as long as we have this in standard form equal to 0, we can solve for x. This is the quadratic formula, this bit right here. And this is going to give us the answers that solve this equation. We don't have to factorise anymore. We can go to this formula. Now, here's an example of a quadratic equation, 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. So the first thing I'll do is write down the value of a, that's the number in front of the squared term. Then I'll write down the number for b, that's the number in front of the x, so negative 7 for b, don't forget the negative. And then I'll write down the number for c, which is the positive 3 at the end. Here comes my quadratic formula. Now I could of course use factorisation and null factor law to do this, and I might do that in a moment. But over here, I'll do the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, take 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. So whenever I substitute a value, I'll put a little pair of brackets as placeholders. This helps me to keep things organised. So instead of b squared, I'll have a little bracket with the negative 7 inside it, then the squared on the outside. The minus 4 is part of the formula. Then I'll have a little pair of brackets, and the value of a that goes in there is 2. Then I'll have a little pair of brackets, and the number 3 for c goes in there. Then I have a 2, and a was 2. I highly recommend the use of those little curved brackets to substitute, so we keep things organised. Now, negative of negative 7 is positive 7, plus or minus the square root. Negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. And here's 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. And it is a negative number times of two positive numbers, so it's a negative result. And then 2 times 2 is 4. As long as we work slowly and carefully, we'll be okay. 49 subtract 24 is 25. Then we have 7 plus, now square root of 25 is 5, divide by 4. Or we could have 7 take 5, divide by 4. 7 plus 5 is 12, and that comes to 3. 7 take 5 is 2, and that's 1/2. So there's the two solutions for x. X equals 3 or x equals 1/2. So I'll just write that separately. X equals 3 or x equals 1/2. And that comes from the quadratic formula. Now I did say that that's instead of factorising and then using the null factor law. So let's do the other approach. Let's do the factorisation here. So I can see in this case we already have a, b and c. Remember, when this is not a monic quadratic, I need to either take a common factor. No, 2 does not divide into 7 or 3. So I'll have to split the middle term. A times c equals positive 6, b equals negative 7. Numbers which will multiply to give positive 6. 1 times 6, then I try 1 plus 6, but that does not add. But it gives me a good clue here, because 1 plus 6 is positive 7. Let's try negative 1 by negative 6. Yes, that would be multiplying correctly. Negative 1 plus negative 6 would add to give. These are my two numbers that I will use to split the middle term. So my My quadratic then I'll write as 2x squared minus x minus 6x plus 3 equals 0. Now taking a common factor from the first two terms, that would be x outside 2x take 1. Looking for a common factor from the second two terms, and remember I'm trying to produce the same 2x take 1 here, so I think it would have to be negative 3 as the factor. Negative 3 by 2x is negative 6x, negative 3 by negative 1 is positive 3, that's right. And now I have 2x take 1, x take 3 equals 0. I've now factorised, so I can use the Null Factor Law. This tells me that 2x take 1 equals 0, in which case 2x equals 1, or x equals 1/2. Perhaps it was the other factor, x take 3 equals 0, in which case x equals 3. And look at that, we have produced the same results. So we have here that x equals 1/2 or x equals 3 if we do factorisation and Null Factor Law, and we have here the same two results from the quadratic formula that I did earlier. Now you might say, what's the point of the quadratic formula if I can get the result by doing factorisation and then Null Factor Law? Well, there will be some occasions, not this one, there will be some quadratics where you don't find, you try to do this to split the middle term and you come up short and you don't find a pair of numbers that will work. In that case, the quadratic formula is the only choice. So that's a short introduction and comparison between the factorisation method and the quadratic formula method. You will get to know and love this formula by the time you finish your high school maths. Thanks for watching.